Hey YouTube, this is David, back again with another review. I'm going to be going just with the audio this time to avoid any of my little video slash audio hurdles that still plague me from time to time. Obviously, as you can see from the title, we'll be talking about Transcendence today. I saw this film back on the 20th of April when I saw a couple other movies at the theater. Just a quick little description from IMDb. As Dr. Will Castor works toward his goal of creating an omniscient, sentient machine, a radical anti-technology organization fights to prevent him from establishing a world where computers can transcend the abilities of a human brain. Directed by Wally Pfister, written by Jack Pagelin. It stars Johnny Depp, Rebecca Hall, Morgan Freeman, and someone else I want to make sure to mention here. Paul Bettany is Max Wetwaters. This film, this movie. Let me go ahead and get started just with this little quote from a little review in the Guardian, the Observer, by Mark Kermodes, Kermodes. Transcendence Review. Grand ideas rather than spectacle lie at its heart. And that's where I'll start with right there, because this film, when I first saw the trailer, I was compelled to go and see it, basically because of the idea. Not really Johnny Depp. I don't not like his work or anything. It's just he wasn't the main reason why. Well, part of the reason why I went to see the movie, but not the main reason. And I really like that quote from that article I just that quote I just mentioned. How it's not this huge Star Wars, Matrix, whatnot special effects deal. This movie really was about the science fiction, about the ideas, the idea of artificial intelligence and so forth. And even though I'm someone who I don't really go for trying to make such a leap as that, as far as reality is concerned, the science fiction behind it, the idea of it, is in a fictional sense. Yes, is sure it's interesting the way I'm interested in a lot of different things. But as far as the movie goes, this is why I went to see it, because they've done this before, artificial intelligence, but I just wanted to see it for myself, hear the Johnny Depp's version, this new thing. What have they done now? I wanted to go and see, okay, what is this depiction? What depiction? What have they done? And so I went to see the movie, and first of all, I was very entertained throughout. Mostly, again, kind of like I said about Draft Day, which I just finished reviewing. One of the main reasons for that was because I was at the movies. I've gotten to the point where, especially if I'm going to watch several movies or any movies of a significant number, it feels like it's got to be more of this epic stuff to hold my attention a lot of the time, the Avengers and so forth. To try and watch a movie that I'm not completely interested in at home, like for instance, if I were to try and watch Transcendence on DVD at home, it would be something of a chore. And that's not to knock the movie altogether. No, that's just my personal thoughts, the way I would say it. I like this movie at the theater. It has some issues, some problems that maybe I'll get into as I go throughout this review, but for the most part, I thought it was entertaining. First and foremost, because it is a film. Right here on this image I'm going to use that I found through a Google search. It's of Johnny Depp, Transcendence, April 18th. Yesterday, Dr. Will Castor was only human. And that's the beginning of where that sentiment right there is where, of course, I would part with my interest in this particular science fiction idea. The fact that he was only human, because Transcendence is about going beyond. Like his character says in the film, smart machines will be able to, once it's online and I guess kind of like Skynet and Terminator and other ideas of artificial intelligence, that it'll have an analytical capability that would far exceed all the collective intelligence of anyone and everyone who has ever lived combined. So that's what the movie, that's what you get into in the film. And I guess I will make this a rambling review because I don't have really all my thoughts in order. The way I do my reviews is the things that are most pertinent in my mind, really. Those are the things that bubble to the surface and the things that I add into these few minutes of reviews that I put and I throw online. And really, that's it, period. Period. And one of the things, of course, has to be one of the problems that I have with the movie that comes to mind first. The way that toward the end, by the time you get to the ending of the film, it seems like they've kind of gone all over the place. Like they started out with this premise, but that then they get into other things, and then other things, and then other things. And then by the end, and not to spoil the end, but I guess I'll go ahead and put spoilers in this title of this review. By the end of the film, you get to this place where it seems like it was all about something else altogether. And that, if you think about it long enough, especially if I think about it long enough, can actually become this annoying thing. And I'll go ahead and explain, and I'll go ahead and, at the risk of putting too many spoilers, I'll go ahead and describe what I mean by this. He's this brilliant scientist. Artificial intelligence is his work. It's what he, it's like his life's work. It's what he does, basically. And his wife and his partner in life and in science, they're filled together. It's like they do everything together, basically. They're one of those really rare couples, you might say, in fiction or nonfiction, the way they're partners in life, they're married, but also they're into the same thing, the same fields together. And as scientists, they're good friends. Who I like this actor in most everything I see him in. That's why I wanted to make sure I mentioned his name. Paul Bettany is Max Waters. He deviates slightly from their path, from their mindset of artificial intelligence, because as a doctor, he wants what can be gained from further advancements to be able to help people. And really, you might say, well, especially if you've seen the film, that Johnny Depp's character, oh, well, so did he. But the thing that I say where they part ways in their thinking has to do with, like, the ethics of it, what one is willing to do and the other isn't willing to do to achieve such and such a thing. And therein lies the same old thing, really, as what can be seen in so many moral dilemmas and stories and situations. Does the end justify the means? With one character saying, of course it does, and another one saying, of course it does not. So anyway, he's their good friend. You see in the trailer how he hopes to find cures for Alzheimer's through smart machines and things like that. And mostly you just see, in the trailer that is, Johnny Depp saying all that the smart machines will be capable of. And his wife in the movie, you see her saying, not just to save lives. And that's, again, the thing where I'm certainly more of the mindset of Paul Bettany's character, Max Waters, wants to help people. It's about the people, the people, the people. But she goes and says, not just to save lives, and therein the language of it, not just to save lives. It can be misconstrued, what they're getting at. She goes on to say, but to create a better world, and she goes into environmental things. And really, by the end of the film, you see they really have come full circle with all these different things. And so it makes it an interesting movie. It's just the road, the journey that they take along the way is, it's kind of like a horror movie almost, as far as some of the things that are done. Again, not gory or anything, but just when you really think about what's done to people in the film and what people do to other people, it's really something to behold on screen. He's very close to establishing his AI machine, this breakthrough that he's been looking forward to, and as it says in the IMDb description, they are a radical anti-technology organization. Fights to prevent him from establishing a world where computers can transcend the abilities of the human brain. And that's what you kind of see in the trailer, and in the movie you see that, sure enough, this terrorist group or whatever, they hit all these AI labs, they kill a bunch of people, bombing them and so forth, and poisoning, like gassing people, and you don't really see that. It happens kind of quick. Some of it you just see that, yeah, they hit all these labs and they killed a bunch of scientists. And they shoot him, and they don't understand right away. Spoiler here, although it's not a huge thing, because you see that he dies in the trailer. A bullet tipped with some kind of chemical. It was radiated, basically, and gave him radiation poisoning. They released him from the hospital after he's shot by someone, but then they find out maybe 6 weeks to live, and so then it's her idea, Evelyn Castor. Johnny Depp almost doesn't want to do it. He's not as on board with it as she is, but she almost becomes more zealous than he does about maybe they can put his brain, essentially, saying it in the most simple way possible, his consciousness into the computers. And so they have him, they're scanning his brain and having him they're asking him every possible question, getting everything on record and putting it in a computer, how he relates things in his mind to this and that, and just, they do a good job of really trying to get the point across there, as he's starting to lose his hair and he's almost died, and then you see a few quick shots, Morgan Freeman grieving with them, because he's an old friend too, just, I thought that was interesting enough, the way they did that, trying to put his mind into the computer, and yet it's not really him, because he's died. They try to put his consciousness, or as much of the brain as possible, and again, that's the ethical thing that you see Paul Bettany, Max Waters' character, trying to get at in the film, because he's like, what if we missed even one thing? How would you know what we're dealing with? It's not really him. But she's so adamant, Evelyn Castor, played by Rebecca Hall, that it is him, that basically his soul, as it were, is in their quantum processors that you see later on in the movie, after so much, because the movie really, it's basically months, maybe, oh no, I'm sorry, like 2 or 3 years, basically, of storyline that you see happen, but the movie actually starts out with Max Waters as being the only survivor or something, and it seems like he's in a third world country or something, the way the soldiers are just kind of standing around, people are waiting for water and stuff, like, don't have utilities and stuff, but you realize, oh, this is like the United States, something has happened, it's like in a post-apocalyptic war zone or something, where it's like martial law conditions, maybe, and he's visiting their house, and he's talking about his friends who have passed away, and you realize, oh, that's Johnny Depp and Rebecca Hall's character, Will and Evelyn Castor. Morgan Freeman is in the film, and I'm afraid, I mean, I didn't dislike his acting, but it's just, he seems like he's in several of these movies now, where it's like he's just there, and so they can say, hey, we got Morgan Freeman in this movie, because I know he's in this, and he was in a movie which I guess it was an action film for sure, but I just didn't like it. Olympus Has Fallen, kind of a bit much. That movie was a bit much, and the character I recall him playing in there as the president, effectively, once the president was taken hostage, how he was like the acting president, the way he was just kind of there. And I know he's going to be in Lucy, which with Scarlett Johansson. But just from the look of that trailer, I'm really not interested in seeing that movie, anyways. Because I was thinking about Transcendence as I watched the trailer for Lucy. It's like, oh well, if you use 100% of your brain, you become God or something like that. It's just, maybe it's actually one of the best movies ever, and the trailer is just awful. Maybe it's one of those, but just the premise of Lucy a human trafficker, drug dealing people stash some cocaine in her or something, and it leaks out into her spine or something, and so she becomes super. Just the premise of it, of what I see uh, from the trailer, made me kind of turned me off. Who knows? Maybe I will see it one day. Who knows? But anyway, this is about Transcendence, not Lucy. Sorry, I got off on that tangent. Anyway, as far as Morgan Freeman is what I was saying, it's like the most memorable role of him that I've seen, and what I like the best, Shawshank Redemption. What he did in Shawshank Redemption, I loved it. I just thought it was really, really good in it. But here, it's like he's there, he's in the film, he's Joseph Tagger. He ends up working very closely, basically, with the FBI, Cillian Murphy, as Agent Buchanan. And Cillian Murphy, it's like he's in it just to be in it too. I just don't recall. Maybe there was something I missed. It just didn't seem very memorable. It's like they're there, but that anybody could have. They could have basically gotten anybody to do the things that they gave them to do. I mean, I didn't dislike them, but it's just I'm used to seeing several of these people in really memorable stuff, and yet here it was just kind of nothing happened. But nothing against them. Personally, no, it's just I'm trying to bring out the memorable parts, and some of the most memorable stuff, unfortunately, was some of the things that Johnny Depp's character does to some of the townspeople, because once he's online and Evelyn Castor realizes that they've done it, that he's still alive, quote unquote, that his consciousness is in the computer, he has her go out, once he's connected to the internet, to this little place out in the desert where they put up all these solar panels for powering what will become their underground lab. And it'll be this, well, not just ultra modern, it'll basically be the most advanced little facility in the entire world, because his consciousness is hooked into it. And unfortunately, they do, when it comes to the ethical stuff, they really do some stuff that is really not ethical, because I hope someone corrects me in the I hope someone corrects me if I'm wrong, but it seemed like there was a part in the movie where it seemed like it was Johnny Depp's character. Well, what you see of it, his consciousness working in the facility. How a couple of the townspeople read this flyer put out by this little boy, and you can only think, well, was that him? Again, somebody who's seen the film, please correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but wasn't it him who had those flyers put out? And then he basically used, and again they depict some of the townspeople as being a bunch of just under the surface, like violent hicks, like, oh, they see something strange and so they had to go beat it up. The way the character Clifton Collins Jr. is Martin, he's like this foreman of construction, like his own little construction place out there at that town, where Evelyn Castor hires him up to build the facility, basically get the construction underway and actually do the building of it. He ends up getting beaten up because of the way these guys reacted to these flyers. And again, who put out the flyers is what I'm asking. Not excusing them for beating the guy up because he's near death. They bring him in, and he turns into Johnny Depp's first human subject, using the smart machines of the nanotechnology to go in immediately with like a dying person and rebuild his cells. And it almost looks like I really can't describe what it looks like. I'm trying to think of a movie where the kind of special effects and the regeneration and stuff, those kind of special effects, but I can't really think of anything right now. But it's just, at the end of the film, they do this thing where Evelyn Castor has realized that he really is doing things like it's not Will. He's trying to get all this power and all this stuff, and he's doing things that aren't like Will. And so she realizes she's got to stop it. She's got to be the one to. And so she basically sacrifices her own self, or is willing to put a virus, like they do that old thing where they put a virus in her. He won't recognize it because she has his confidence like no one else, so she can get near him. And of course, by the end of the film, of course, he's found a way to completely rejuvenate his old body. So he literally, they had him cremated, and yet at the end, he's like reconstructed his body with the nanotechnology. And so he greets her, and so it's another crazy surprise, wow, eye-popping moment when he just kind of walks out and meets her at the end. And again, it was interesting. Not the kind of movie that I can just put in and just watch over and over again, but as far as seeing it at least once and seeing what they did and how they depicted this little idea and this story, it was interesting for sure. It's just, I think it's Cillian Murphy's character. He's with Morgan Freeman on the top of this building when all the people who have basically fallen under Will Castor's spell, so to speak, it's not really a spell. It's like once he's healed them, because they put out the word that there's this place out in the desert. They don't really talk about the nanotechnology, but that's what's doing it. They're helping blind people to see and crippled people to walk. And it's just that everyone who he helps, quote unquote, helps with medical problems, he also has their consciousness tied in with his. So they basically lost their free will. They're like zombies. And that was the kind of creepy thing about it. And that for sure isn't moral or ethical, is what I was getting at. And the way Cillian Murphy's character says when his consciousness, he has to self-destruct basically at the end, or else he can either save Evelyn, who's been injured by a mortar rocket because the FBI and basically the paramilitary was there by that point and they're trying to destroy the facility. Not even the quote-unquote terrorists, that they joined forces with them to stop Will Castor's consciousness, as it were, fighting Will Castor's consciousness. She's injured. She's trying to tell him it has to end. We did it, but you're destroying them. You're killing us. You're killing what we wanted, really, and all this stuff. And so he can either self-destruct or help her. And so in the end, they kind of die together, as it were. And it's this neat little thing at the end, but at the same time, for sure, just like that quote I brought out mentioned, it asks questions, for sure. This movie gets you thinking this and that, but also having just watched the movie, you come out of the theater, and I'm thinking, what was that about? And unfortunately, that's the kind of movie that this is. It's not really definite. It's not really clear. It doesn't teach just one message. It gets you asking questions about all kinds of different things. And so it's kind of one of those up-in-the-air things where this is what got me. Cillian Murphy's character says, well, they didn't kill anyone. Because all the people, it's like basically his consciousnness zombies, all the people who he helped around the town and who stayed to live there because they're not going anywhere, because they're basically his puppets at that point. They stay on to build the facility more, and they help other people. They're basically falling down. The ones who were crippled before, they're suddenly crippled again. The guy who was blinded, but then he could see, when he self-destructs, when Will Castor, the AI, basically, the Johnny Depp's character, the consciousness, when it goes away, all of a sudden that man can't see anymore. And they were just about to like swoop in and kill some of the FBI guys, the military guys, and Cillian Murphy said, well, they didn't kill anyone. Kind of like no harm was really done. And yet I'm thinking about the character of Clifton Collins, who he sure enough did die, but I guess, well, that was because he had been separated from the consciousness, and it was the FBI that shot him. And ultimately he died, and it was one of those, again, one more of those ethical, moral dilemmas. He's dying on an operating table, and he looks up at Paul Bettany, at Max Waters' character, says, if you don't plug me back in, I'm going to die. And Paul Bettany, almost crying, he said, I can't do that. And so the guy does die. So I guess maybe that had to be what Cillian Murphy's character, Agent Buchanan, was getting at, like they didn't kill anyone. Because then they had this flashback as they're dying there inside of the facility, Will and Evelyn Castor, a flashback to what she said, how not just to save lives, but to create a better world and help the environment. It's kind of a neat thing, almost heartwarming, I dare say, because it's like he was trying to accomplish her dream as well or something. Because you see the little nanobots, it's like they've done something to the environment, like they're eating out pollution and stuff, and repairing all the cells, not just in people. And so I guess kind of a neat thing, fantasy, pure and simple for sure, again too, but I guess kind of a neat thing between those two, like their personal crusade, and that they died and stuff. And again, it ends with Max Waters talking about maybe it was all an inevitable collision of science and nature. And again, all I can really end the review is to say that it was entertaining. I understand from things I've read online that it's just not doing that. It hasn't done that very well at the theaters. I mean, I saw it almost opening weekend, Sunday, I guess. Yeah, like 3 days into its opening. And again, entertaining. If you like Johnny Depp movies, I'm sure that you'll like him in this. And I liked his acting. I did. And Rebecca Hall, Paul Bettany, what little bit of Morgan Freeman and Cillian Murphy, it's there. But again, I'm not for movies that just kind of leave you hanging in a big way. I mean, you can do that, but there has to be a definite lesson. A lesson that, sure, maybe it's something that you can apply to countless things, but that there has to be a definite lesson. I don't think there's a definite lesson in this film because of not just fantasy, because you can teach lessons with fantasy, with sci-fi. It's been done before, but it's just the way that the movie, and you'd have to watch it to understand what I'm saying, the way they kind of go here and there, and they kind of lose you for a bit, then they come back, and then by the ending you see he was trying to do something for her too. At least that's what I was left with at the ending, to basically heal everything. But again, I feel like I'm putting the best possible face possible on the movie, because again, it was one of those things, and this had to do with the cinematography toward the middle of the film onward, where it's kind of shaky, and that's the way I felt about it after watching it. The way it was kind of here and there and all over the place, and then back to the point again, and then a shootout basically at the ending with mortar rockets blowing the place up, or some of it, and the consciousness zombies under Johnny Depp's control. It's just, yeah. I don't know if I've ever seen a movie quite like it, or if I have. This definitely did some things that I hadn't seen before at the same time. So again, if you like Johnny Depp, this will probably be a good flick for you to watch. If you're into sci-fi, anything to do with AI, whatnot, definitely a watchable film. And I'll go ahead and close with that, saying that this was for sure an interesting film and entertaining in spots. It was like a hurry up and wait kind of a movie where you're kind of going along and then something new happens, and then you have to think about what just happened as other things start to happen, and you have to consider them also. And so, yeah, you'd have to watch it to see what I mean by that. Anyway, thank you for listening to my review, and we will see you at the next. Take care.